Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Good to meet you.
I was on tour with you. We went
were?
out with Army of Anyone for a couple weeks on the East Coast.
We did?
Mm-hmm.
What band?
Well, no, I was the photographer. I was Hert's photographer.
Oh wow, God, I didn't even remember. I mean, did we meet?
Twice.
Like we said hi twice.
Yep, in Myrtle Beach and the meet and greet at the Bowery in New York.
Oh shit.
And that was it.
Well, God, I'm sorry. You were on tour with Army. That was kind of a weird tour.
It was kind of a weird tour.
You know, snowcore.
Yeah.
It was a brand new band, and we needed to do like, you know. Are we on the record?
I mean, this will do away with the Army of Anyone question I was going to ask. So yeah, continue.
No, it was a Army of Anyone was a great experience because Robert and Dean, obviously two of the, I mean, you know, Robert DeLeo single-handedly wrote, you know, 13 #1 hits or 54. I don't even know what it is. It's like an ungodly amount of #1 hits in the '90s with the Stone Temple Pilots. Dean, no slouch either. Easily 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know. Together as a band, you know, STP. So it was an amazing experience to be with, you know, Robert and Dean. You know, but we played Welcome to the Fold and Take a Picture, and something just inside of me just knew that, like, I just couldn't turn my back on Filter, and I felt like I had a conversation with my brother Robert. My brother Robert he's an actor, and he, you know, he knew me when I was heavily addicted to alcohol and drugs, and he knew me. You know, he's known me my whole life, obviously, but like, he was always there, kind of going like, "Hey, man, you know, you quit 9 Inch Nails for this band, Filter. It's giving you everything you got in your life, you know, with your drugs and with your, you know." He goes, I like Army of Anyone. I think it's great, but have you ever noticed you just keep turning your back on Filter? And I was really shocked by that. It really is the band that it's going to be my legacy, and you know, I'm having a blast with it, and that's why you know, I kind of started off with Army of Anyone, coming back, and then kind of went back to Filter just because I missed it tremendously.
Now, what about the Damning Well?
The Damning Well is it was a great thing to do with Wes. Wes also played on Anthems. Danny Lohner's a very interesting guy. There were 2 songs that we did. People think there's an entire album out there. There wasn't. There were 2 songs that we did together. One of the songs had me and Amy Lee singing together.
No way.
Absolutely. Managerially, I have a copy of it. I could maybe let you listen to it. It's really great. But they actually took all the music and used it for Black Light Burns, a song called Coward. So, it's really weird because you hear Wes all over it, and now it's like, if you go back and hear the original version, it's Amy Lee and me.
So how did that come about with the Amy
It was
Lee?
one of those things that's just like, you know, you experiment and you try, and some of these things don't come to the surface because, you know, it was just a managerial thing. I think it was just financially, I don't think it was, someone wasn't satisfied with what, so it just didn't happen and it didn't work. But that song actually was amazing, and it's kind of sad that it'll never see the light of day.
So what about Hey Man, Nice Shot and Stabbing Westwards on God?
Stuart Zeckman was the guitar player in my life when I wrote Hey Man, Nice Shot. I wrote Hey Man, Nice Shot. He came down and listened to it, and he was like, "That's amazing." This band, Stabbing Westward, was courting him. They had a record deal already, and they were ready to go, and he just kind of ripped it off. He kind of stole it. So,
Totally stole it.
they actually, I talked to, what was the singer, Chris Holmes?
Christopher Hall.
Christopher Hall. I talked to him, And I talked to Chris, and I was just like, you know that like I would never, steal or do anything. And Chris said, Richard, I've heard, the rest of Short Bus, and the guitar style is the same, and like Stuart never played like that again on all of our stuff. So he was like, and they're estranged, but what happened was we just kind of looked at each other, and I said, look, you guys have it on your record, I'll have it on my record, may the best man win. I had, huge success, but they had I love Andy Kubashevsky, he's a great guy. He actually worked with me in this band called The Act in 1987, going way back. And, but I have nothing but love for those guys, and we were young, it was crazy. It was crazy times.
So, and with the commercial success that you had with Hey Man, Nice Shot, I know that Take a Picture was not anything that I would have expected.
Right.
Were you expecting that level of success?
You know what?
With
I was on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins for 2.5 months, and I had discovered, when I left Nine Inch Nails, I was really horrified of this like task at hand, which was I had to like sing, and I was really like, oh God, how is this gonna work? So I was really held back on Short Bus. I mumbled everything, and I kind of like screamed, and then I'd mumble stuff, and then I'd scream. And when I got to title of record, I was like finally at terms with myself that like maybe I can lighten up on myself and stop being so critical and show a softer underside of my writing that I have. Probably the biggest problem or the biggest critique with Filter is that you can't throw me in heavy metal genre. You can't throw me in the industrial genre and just go, oh, they're industrial, put some satanic shit on it and fucking put it in a box and sell it, put it over there in the industrial heavy metal section. I refuse to be like, I don't want to be like tame like that. I don't want to be. It's pretty easy to go like, hey, I'm just gonna write 10 Hey Man, Nice Shots. It's more interesting and more difficult and more creatively satisfying to be able to do Welcome to the Fold, Hey Man, Nice Shot, What's Next, The Take, as well as The Only Way is the Wrong Way. Where do we go from here? Take a Picture, Stuck in Here, and have that mellow side too. The problem is that I literally, sometimes the songs don't even sound like it's the same band, and that's where I get some criticism. But I'll tell you what, I mean, people who come to a Filter concert are gonna get the stuff that I like. I'm an eclectic, music fan. I have Radiohead, I have Patsy Cline, I have Pantera, I have the Deftones, I have U2, I have Led Zeppelin, and I think that my sound should be as eclectic as my taste, and I think my audience is eclectic as that, so they're getting all of that as well.
See how I want to word this. You've been around for 13 years as Filter?
12, 13.
Yeah. Now, for somebody who's just jumping on board now with Anthems for the Damned and Soldiers of Misfortune, it's getting a lot of play here.
Yeah, it is.
Describe the progression of the 4 albums for someone who's just now being introduced to the band. Because if you listen to Anthems,
it's gonna sound more like evolution. It's gonna sound more like Short Bus than it would Title or Amalgama. Filter is essentially, it's my band, and kind of like Bruce Springsteen or kind of like Queens of the Stone Age, Josh Homme, or kind of like my old boss Trent Reznor, it evolves. There's different people in it, I'm a little bit more open as far as I really want different folks to play on the record. I want different people. Short Bus was me and a computer and a guy named Brian Leeskang, who kind of was a producer, engineer almost. Wasn't really a musician per se, played a little guitar. And it was me and him who did Hey Man, Nice Shot and like all the Short Bus. Title of record, I involved the live band that I had gotten to know from touring on Short Bus. And that was Gino Leonardo and Frank and Steve Gillis. When I started working on Filter again after Anthems, I wanted, or after Army of Anyone, on Anthems, I wanted to go back to me versus the computer and me versus the guitar, and like, and really try and write as much of it as myself. But I can't wait, because I've just now been on the road for 6 months with this new version, the new incarnation, and this one, I've got like the coolest people involved. Anthems had John Five and Josh Fries in the studio with me in West Borland. This live incarnation, and I'm absolutely so proud of this band I'm with right now, is John Spiker, Mitch Marlowe, and Mika Finio. And I can't wait to see what they're gonna add, because I want them to help me write the next record. And I think I think it's important to grow. It's like U2, my favorite band. I mean, 1 minute they're kind of this echoey thing from Ireland, doing, you know, like Brian Eno kind of stuff. And the next thing they're kind of like Southern, you know, like Americana with Joshua Tree. Then they changed everything and go to like Zeropa, or, you know, or Octung Baby, which is more of like an electronic thing from Europe. And then they just kept blossoming and growing. And I think they're like the only band that I've ever really totally just been a massive, huge fan of. Them and the Deftones.
So, 2 questions.
And Hours. I love Hours. I like Thrice. And I like, really into Jimmy from Hours. Probably one of the greatest rock singers. Skylar Kroom, actually, from He Is Legend. Probably one of the greatest rock voices I've ever had the pleasure of hearing just on headphones. I mean, like, just, you know, so.